She was preparing a simple cake as she did every year, but that day had a more bitter taste. The empty chair in front of her seemed heavier than the longing. Among pots, calluses and silences, she survived grief, poverty and distance, always with one certainty in her heart. Love is the only ingredient that never runs out. What she didn't know was that, on that night, something was going to change. And that the most precious gift wouldn't fit in packages. A story about sacrifice, absence, and the power to return. Hello, my friends. I am Linda, and this is the Linda's Stories channel. I hope you enjoy this story. The time had the sound of pots clanging in Grace's small kitchen. Her calloused hands stirred the dough with the care of someone who learned to cook out of necessity, but she seasoned everything with an almost sacred love. On that day, the silence of the house seemed denser, more raw. It was her birthday, but the empty chair in front of her made more noise than any pot on the stove. Grace was alone, once again. The calendar hung on the refrigerator door displayed the number 54 circled in faded red, a gentle reminder that time waits for no one. The wrinkles around Grace's eyes told stories of laughter and tears, mostly tears in recent years. Her brown hair, now flecked with strands of silver, was tied up in a simple bun that she automatically made every morning before starting her work. Since Steve had passed away, the house felt too big for two, then too big for one. Grace still remembered the day the doctor, with compassionate eyes and a soft voice, announced that the disease was at an advanced stage. Steve was only 42, Harper just 6 when he left, and there was no time for mourning. Life, relentless, demanded haste. The school needed a cook. Grace needed to feed her daughter. She did what she knew with the tools she had: flour, fire, and faith. Grace smiled sadly as she mixed the ingredients for her birthday cupcake. Nothing elaborate, just a small vanilla batter that could be decorated with a single candle. The photographs on the living room sideboard showed a young Harper next to her mother, both smiling while wearing their matching aprons. A memory of better times, when the world seemed kinder. Poverty was the backdrop of everything, but never the headline of the story. Grace saved on everything, except love. And Harper grew up among the sweet smell of vanilla cake and the sound of tears hidden in the bathroom. I need to fix that dripping faucet, thought Grace, watching the small water pool forming in the kitchen sink. Another item on the endless list of repairs she postponed for lack of money. The envelope of bills on the dining table contained more red numbers than she cared to admit. From a very young age, Harper helped however she could. She sold her mother's candies with a little basket in her hands and a shy smile that melted hearts. Mrs. Grace's Brigadeiros, the best in town, she announced in her high-pitched voice as she walked through the neighborhood streets. On the way back, she counted coin by coin on the kitchen table as if they were treasures. And they were. It was with that money that they bought what was missing: the medicine, the beans, the gas. Nothing was left over, but love was never lacking. Grace remembered the nights when Harper would fall asleep exhausted after helping in the kitchen. The girl had inherited her father's green-grey eyes and her mother's determination, a combination Grace knew would take her far. Sometimes Grace would sit by her daughter's bed and stroke her hair, silently promising that she would do everything to ensure Harper had a better future. When Harper got accepted into college, the happiness came with a sense of urgency. The news arrived on a rainy afternoon when Harper burst into the kitchen door, drenched and breathless, holding the crumpled envelope against her chest. "Mom, I did it!" she cried out, her eyes shining with tears of joy. The city was far away, the expenses daunting. Sitting at the table, mother and daughter calculated with trembling hands. Grace wanted to go with her, to protect her from the world, but it wasn't possible. Here in town, she worked as a cook at the school and then handled her candy orders. There, she would have no job opportunities, no real chance. She would have to stay. A few months later, the time came for Harper to go to college. The farewell was silent. Harper left with a small suitcase and teary eyes. Grace was left with an empty room and a pillow still warm. That night, she slept hugging the teddy bear Steve had given their daughter, feeling the gentle scent of Harper that still lingered on the toy. Life had become even tighter. The orders for sweets barely covered the rent, and Grace started making extra meals on weekends. Her hands, already marked by time and work, gained new calluses. At night, she would apply cheap cream on oil and oven burns while looking at the only photo of Steve on the bedside table. "I'm doing the best I can," she whispered to the picture, as if he could respond. Harper shared a room with 2 roommates, walked long blocks, and ate as little as possible. Selling sweets became more than just extra income. It became survival. Her thin and delicate fingers, once used to decorate cupcakes with her mother, were now rolling brigadeiros late into the night. Once she went 2 days with just a pack of cookies to eat. She sold her own earrings, a 15th birthday gift from her mother, to pay for photocopies of study materials. She slept hungry and studied exhausted. One night, after a bad sale, Harper went down to the dormitory courtyard and cried silently, her face hidden between her knees. The starry sky seemed to mock her sadness. There was no one around until a fellow student, Liam, saw her and approached. He was from the engineering course, a soft-spoken guy with attentive eyes who had already noticed the quiet girl who always studied in the library until closing time. "Can I sit?" he simply asked. Harper just nodded, too drained to hide the tears. She said nothing, just showed a box full of sweets. Liam understood. The next day he appeared with 2 friends wanting to buy sweets. The following week, he brought 3 more. In a month, Harper had regular customers at the university. On the other side, Grace was also struggling. The number of lunchboxes increased, sweets piled up in jars in the fridge, and burned hands became routine. One day, when delivering a lunchbox to a long-time customer, she heard, "You should rest more. You look worn out." She just smiled, not mentioning that she barely slept. Harper's letters, which arrived bi-weekly, were her only comfort. She read and reread every word, as if she could feel her daughter's presence between the lines. The pain of distance hurt both. Their calls were short and spaced out due to lack of time. Grace saved some money in an empty olive jar, dreaming of saving enough to visit her daughter, but there was always a more urgent bill to pay: the blood pressure medicine, the stove repair, some unexpected expense. In the week of Grace's birthday, Harper did the math. Bitter calculations. She couldn't manage to go back. Not even by taking 3 buses and bringing food from home. The last tuition payment had swallowed her savings. She wrote a letter but did not have the courage to send it. "Dear Mother, forgive me for not being there on your birthday." The words seemed insufficient, empty. She tore the paper into small pieces and threw it in the trash. In silence, she asked her mother's forgiveness. In the following days, friends began to notice Harper's silence, the absence of her discreet smile that would light up the room during project presentations. Liam commented to the others. He knew about her mother's birthday. Harper had mentioned it during a casual conversation while they sold sweets together at the academic project fair. A group was formed. They started by selling brigadeiros, but soon someone suggested a raffle. Another offered a bicycle he no longer used. Harper resisted, embarrassed. "I can't accept this," she repeated, eyes downcast. But then she received an envelope with tickets and a letter signed by 8 people. "You are too much light to spend this day away from the woman who taught you to shine." Harper cried, holding that envelope as if it were a treasure. Liam hugged her, his glasses slightly fogging up with the shared emotion. "Go," he said simply, "and take this." He handed her a small blue velvet box. On the night of the birthday, Grace lit a candle on a vanilla cupcake. She was alone, as in the past few years. The candle flickered as if it knew it wouldn't last long. The phone remained silent all day. Harper would probably call at the end of the night when she finished her chores. Grace did not blame her. She closed her eyes and didn't wish for anything. She just gave thanks. For her daughter, for her health, for the chance to still breathe. The small flame reflected in her tired eyes, dancing like the memories in her mind. Then there was a knock on the door. She got up slowly, unhurriedly, her heart already accustomed to the absence. It was probably the neighbour, Donna Marta, bringing some dessert or just stopping by to wish a happy birthday. When she opened the door, time stood still. Harper was there. Hair tousled, backpack on his back, eyes teary. "Since you didn't call me, I decided to show up," he whispered with a choked voice. Not another word, just a hug. Grace burst into tears. The cake was still on the table, the candle melting slowly. She held her daughter tightly against her chest, as if she could make her fit back into her heart. The years of absence disappeared in that embrace, and for a moment, Harper was once again the little girl selling brigadeiros door to door. They sat at the table. The candle was relit. Harper cut the small cake in half. They shared the sweet treat, the silence, and a joy that neither of them could translate. The clock on the wall seemed to have stopped, as if even time was honouring that moment. Harper recounted how she managed to come. She spoke about her friends, about Liam, about selling brigadeiros, and the raffle. Grace cried once more. The two stayed up late into the night, reminiscing about Steve, the lunchboxes, the baskets, the days when there was no meat, but there was laughter. Harper talked about college, the challenges, the dreams. Grace listened to every word as if savouring a special delicacy. "There's something else," Harper said, taking a small velvet box from her backpack that Liam had given her. Inside, there was a pair of delicate earrings, not expensive, but shining with sincerity. "May earrings never be missing in this family again," Harper explained. "Liam noticed you never wore earrings even though you mentioned you liked them." Grace touched the earrings carefully, as if they were made of the most precious material in the world. "They are perfect," she murmured with tears in her eyes. The next day, Harper helped in the kitchen, stuck little notes on the mirror, tidied up her mother's closet, and wrote a new recipe in the old notebook. The notes said things like, "You are stronger than you think," and "Your smile lights up the world." Grace, in turn, prepared her daughter's favourite lunch with hands happier than tired. A simple pasta, but seasoned with memories and hope. When it was time to leave, Harper left a note under her mother's pillow. "You taught me that love doesn't need luxury nor constant presence. It only needs to be true. I carry your strength in every step. One day, I will give you the world. But until then, know that everything I am started at your stove, in your lap, and with your sacrifices. I love you, Mom." Grace cried alone as she read. It was a silent joy, a love that didn't shout. It just existed, like stars that shine even when we can't see them. A few years later, Harper graduated. She walked onto the stage in a simple dress and with the same shy smile she had inherited from her mother. The audience applauded, but her eyes sought only one face, Grace's. There she was, in the third row with her hair tied up and her trembling hands in her lap. Next to her, Liam smiled proudly, holding a small bouquet of wildflowers. Harper came down from the stage and knelt before her mother. She handed her the diploma. The woman who had shaped dreams with flour was now receiving back the sweetest fruit of life. The circle was complete there. The girl who once sold brigadeiros to help at home would now be a food engineer, ready to transform her mother's small confectionery into something greater. On the way home, Grace looked at the starry sky through the bus window. She remembered the single candle on her birthday cake, that night that changed everything. She smiled, holding her daughter's diploma against her chest. Life had not been easy, but that moment, that simple moment, made it all worthwhile. Sometimes, the greatest gift we can give someone is to return. There are sacrifices the world does not see, hands burned from the oven, sleepless nights, tears hidden among the dishes. But the love that is born in anonymity is the truest. It is what moves the world, even when it seems there is no strength left. To love is to do for others even when no one is watching, and in the end what remains is exactly that. Love in the form of courage. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.